I think we're live, doing something a little different
Painting
tonight.
stream.
Yeah, we're trying to do a painting stream.
It's exciting.
I don't know. It's probably not gonna work great. Um,
Yeah.
the camera setup's pretty shit. Um, and it's probably not gonna focus very well. But whatever. We'll see. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'm in the process of working on painting some of the bases I made or have been working on for my Mordheim warband.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's probably gonna be hard to get the focus to work just right, but whatever. Um, so yeah, I'm in the process of painting them, and I'm painting them in a similar way to the drag model that I painted earlier for Eric's warband. So
Yeah.
just gonna slowly work a little bit on that. I'm sort of playing around with using a wet palette today. Like I only use them off and on, but I
Yeah, I
kind of use
recently
them a little
tried
more.
to start using one.
They work pretty well. I think they just sort of they keep a lot of the paint workable, at least slightly longer. So let's see if we can, you know. So currently tonight, some of the initial colors that I'm using, they're both they're both Vallejo Model Air colors. The first one is medium gunship gray, and then we have a slightly lighter one called dark gall gray. And I have
It
several
looks like
other.
my chat thing is not visible due to um
Oh,
what's it called?
oh,
Streamlabs or whatever.
stupid. Yeah. Let me see if.
For the wet palette, does it like dilute the paints at all?
It does.
Yeah, because
Alright, then
I'm
maybe
not
that's
entirely
better.
sure the Red Grass Games one that I've been using. Like you don't wet both sides of the palette or like the paper,
Yeah.
whereas like that other one that I've seen in the past, they suggest you do that. So I don't know if it does as much. It sort of seemed like it did, or at least I thought it did for when I was trying to use some Scale 75 paints. But then maybe it didn't with some of the others. So I'm not really sure exactly how it works.
I don't really know what I'm doing. Even with this, um, I
Yeah.
wetted it a little, but I don't know how much water I'm supposed to actually be using or not use, so, I mean,
Yeah. All
whatever.
right.
It's fine. I'll figure it out as I go. Um, so I often will just put the paint on the palette and then I add a little water to it often.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this case, I am using the medium gray or the medium gunship gray and the dark gall gray and in terms of painting, um, used an airbrush to spray a bunch of initial coats of various colors, and now
Yeah.
I'm just sort of going in with these other grays and sort of randomly see if I can actually get this on camera. Okay, see, it always just largely focuses on that's okay. Um, Sort of just randomly paint like little patterns on
Mm-hmm.
on the stones, and I sort of as I paint that and kind of randomly paint that, I sort of use some of that to inform where I add other highlights and stuff. Hey, Meandering Shade. Yeah, what's going okay? How are you doing? I'm trying to do a different stream where I'm trying to stream me painting, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Do you like feather that paint out at all when you apply it, or
Um, I feel it's certainly it has more water in than it would straight out of the. Let's move this light a little bit. I don't know if it's not better. No, whatever. From the wet palette, it gets a little. It has a little more water in it, and I sort of will add more or less based on how. So if you don't have enough like water and stuff in it, um, I've found that sometimes like you can really easily see a lot of like the brush strokes and stuff, and there's not really a clean any transition at all. And for a lot of the
you
stuff,
find if there is more water, it does that?
sometimes, but I mean, if you had too much, then it obviously doesn't work well either.
Yeah, yeah.
And then if it is watery like that, oftentimes you sort of just have to do successive layers, and
Hmm.
you'll start to slowly build up the color. I don't know. I feel a lot of the ways that I paint stuff is probably it's not necessarily a very efficient way. Meandering Shade, we're doing okay. I'm starting to feel a little rushed for time in terms of painting. Like
Yeah.
I haven't done anything. Or seemingly haven't done anything. And so now I have to finish painting all my whole warband in like a little over a month or so. See now, okay, so now I'm using like the slightly lighter gray, and I'm just gonna kind of go in and sort of trace some of the edges, and then again, sort of kind of randomly feather around, and then I'll often like go back with the darker color and kind of just
Yeah, yeah.
soften
Like, what
some.
do you think I should do? Like, so was working at this uh, rate a little bit, and I went back and kind of did some more painting, and I think made the darker stuff look a little bit better. But like, there's a lot of surface area kind of on like the top of the like the hunch of his back and whatnot, and there aren't really folds in there or anything.
Uh huh.
Like, what would you do?
I mean,
Would you
some of those areas you could sort of try and do more of like a wet blending type thing. And have like a clean, like nice transition of colors.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
I mean, some of that can be a little tricky to do.
Yeah, I certainly have had not a huge amount of success with it, and I feel these scale 75 paints work even more differently than the other sort of paints that I've worked with. So I feel that
Like the
makes it kind of
CW ones, you mean?
yeah, and the Vallejo ones.
Yeah, okay.
So I feel like I don't have a huge amount of experience with anything, but it seems somewhat divergent from what I know.
Yeah, okay. No, whatever. Oh, so I almost feel like I need someone constantly telling me if it's in or not in focus, and I feel like all of the time it's probably not in focus.
It's hard for me to, because I'm sort of watching it, but it's like slightly off
Yeah.
scale. I mean, it looks in focus though, or it's often in focus.
Because I don't know, like depending on as you're oh yeah, I mean you don't it's late for you. You don't want our stream to go and mess stuff up. And again, the stream's probably not wildly informative either, so
Well, it's always so informative. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna put a little water with something here and try to do a little painting too. I'll be right back.
guess I'll just have to get used to painting on stream as well. Like I'm not. Which of the scale 75 paints have you used? Have you used any aside from the metallics? I've started to use like more and more of them. They are a little different and weird. Particularly like some of the other colors, like basic colors like blues and like their flesh tones. They can kind of, depending on how you do that, can kind of have like a almost like a chalky like texture to them.
Yeah, I certainly found that when my working with scale 75 paints, although I have to admit, like I've basically painted nothing. Like I've painted like 5 models in my whole painting career. So like I am not really good at um judging. Like I can't really compare them to anything or anything. So like in
Yeah.
all the scale 75 paints, you have to cut them open. For all the
Yeah,
ones
they
I,
don't want it drying up.
yeah, I guess it's true.
Okay. Hands and bone. I recently got scale 75 as like a white and black paint set for whites and blacks, and like I think I'm gonna try and use some of those. We'll see. We'll see how they go. Um, but particularly like the flesh tones I found are pretty weird, and if you aren't careful with them, like you can get kind of a weird looking texture and stuff on like the skin of your models that you may or may not like. um, so it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, a lot of the stuff is just you just need to experiment and kind of find something that works for you.
Yeah, I think that's
And like oftentimes each model that I'm working on, I kind of just kind of make something up as I'm going. So, um, I mean, sometimes I find something that I find works like super well, and I'll continue with that a lot on other models, but for me, I guess now it's been a little while since I actually even painted anything, so um,
Yeah.
in certain colors, I feel like I almost like every time I paint them, I do something different. Like, for instance, like the browns and stuff, I feel like every time, like, I do something different. Um, and in some regards, like, depending on what you're trying to paint, if you're trying to paint, like, leathers and stuff like that, that actually can sometimes, like, help give kind of more of a natural, interesting look. Like, each leather, depending on how used and worn they are, they'll be different. Oh shit, you got the entire range? That's cool.
Damn.
Almost my favorite part about a lot of their metallics is just the fact that um they have so many of them, and like just right out of the box with their golds and silvers and stuff, you have a really wide range of like both pretty dark and pretty light silvers. So you don't have to do a lot of like, or you wouldn't have to do as much like mixing and stuff like that. But like the main ones I've used both of their metallics, their flesh tones. Those are the main ones that I've used.
Have you used their blues at all?
Oh yeah, their blues as well. That's what I used to paint the pants on the Arbites that I painted like 2 years
Mm.
ago. Their pants are sort of like hidden underneath their coat, so you could almost not even realize that I had used it. But
Yeah, okay.
they do, their metallics do sort of act in a pretty different way. In some regards, I don't even know if I've decided if I like that or dislike it. I do find most of the time if I'm painting silvers or anything like that or golds, those are often the ones that I tend to go and use most of the time. Um, but I almost think in some regards that's just because that's what I have.
I'm doing what may be wet blending. We don't really know.
I don't know, a lot of times, like, for me, it's just going back and forth with different colors to make it look like there aren't, like, really noticeable, like, transitions of colors and everything, which can sometimes be a little hard. Or noticeable, not as. I want them to have sort of there to be transitions and stuff, and not just don't know how to hold this space to make it visible. And then it's also interesting, like probably, I probably won't get to it in this video, but like I'll then probably use some like enamels and oils to add other colors and textures to the base, and like some of that I feel will just sort of undo some of the work that I've already done here, so I don't know. But I guess maybe that sort of makes sense.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah. All about efficiency here.
Yep.
I almost solely use Vallejo and scale 75. I have some GW paints and I do use some of them, but not nearly as much. I do like some of GW's paints. Like I like some of their reds and stuff. I like the colors and kind of the tones of some of their reds a lot. I feel like for some of this stuff, like some of the stones and stuff, it almost doesn't even matter. That it doesn't even matter, like what the transitions and some of the blends and stuff look like. But some of it, I think, sort of works better if it's just kind of a weird range and kind of unnatural, or not necessarily smooth and pretty. So yeah, let's see if I can get this to focus on. Here's one of the smaller bases that I was working on earlier. Oh, come on. Maybe if I take the palette out of the way, get everything else out of view. There, it's okay. The lighting's the lighting's not great, but and yeah, so oftentimes, with some of the lighter shades, like I will sort of like kind of follow like patterns and stuff that I sort of randomly generated from like other colors to kind of inform where to put like the lighter highlights and stuff. Can sort of see that. Yeah, see, like the shades are really interesting paints from GW, and like I feel I tend not to use them too much. I think they work really well on a lot of their like metallics. Like if you put the shades on some of your metallic paints and stuff, I often like the effect that gives you. Um, but if you're not careful on other things, I feel it can almost give you kind of like a coffee stain look to it if you don't apply it perfectly or you let it pool or something too much. And it can come off looking really weird.
I've certainly experienced that, but like I haven't done a huge amount of any sort of painting.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe wasn't paying the most attention here, but did we say anything that this seems Nathan Anderson is in the chat as well?
No, I didn't even notice that.
Hey,
I
Nathan.
I need to pay more attention to the actual to the actual comments. Yeah, the scale 75 is pretty nice. Like it works pretty well in both like airbrush and just with the brush as well.
I assume you have to dilute the scale 75 ones.
I always do. Um, but then again, I pretty much dilute everything
Yeah.
regardless. But I think it helps regardless because um, if you're not if you don't dilute it well enough, sometimes depending on the gauge of like your needle and stuff like that, it can cause problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, Nathan.
Yeah, we're sort of fumbling around with trying to do some live streams with us actually doing hobby related stuff. The camera setup's pretty weird and we don't really have a good camera for it yet, or at least one with a capture card. So I think focusing is certainly an issue. Just always focuses on the palette. But I guess we'll work through it.
Yeah, but I've certainly, as you kind of mentioned, that I've noticed from the little painting that I have done that yeah, the scale 75 paints do seem to separate a little bit different. Like if you dilute them too much or whatever, and all that is a little different from my
Yeah, they do.
Experience with like Vallejo paints and such.
So Eric, you're working on painting one of the little wraiths now, is that right?
Yeah, that like the practice one. I've been-
Trying to do stuff with the different blues here to try to, I don't know, get some sort of blend going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something.
You have to start somewhere and kind of figure out. Often, depending on what you're working on, if it's something new, it can take a little while to kind of get a feel for what you want it to look like and how you want to do things. And I feel like for me, like it's been a little while since I've actually painted, and so I'm still kind of trying to get back into it.
Yeah. So meandering shit. So people have asked you to do live streams. Like, yeah, it's. I
I
feel
mean,
it's a
we're
difficult.
trying, but
It's also difficult to just like
Finding time is that work with people because it is kind of a global audience.
and it finding a time that works for you and other people.
Is difficult, and then just getting everything set up like a camera, all these things, and the different streaming services to determine whether it's feasible at all can be kind of expensive to then determine like nah, yeah, I don't want to do this.
yeah, it's certainly interesting. It's very, it's very different. I mean, I guess depending on like what your profession and stuff is, like some people already have a bunch of the stuff they could use for it, but
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Not us.
no.
Which I suppose maybe that's why.
Bunch of people start stuff like Patreon stuff and things of that nature, so they don't have to necessarily um, front all those costs up front, at least initially. But
Yeah, I guess that's true. And some of the stuff, like if you just try and stream on like Instagram and stuff, like I think you can make use of like digital phones and stuff pretty well too. Um, if you have a reasonable way to mount it.
yeah, I think that is pretty simple. And I know like Kiri, Iron Sleep Kiri, kind of has done a few that way, and uh, Colonel, a lot of his stuff, streams and stuff are just that way. And like I think it's relatively straightforward to do. Like they're not maybe those streams aren't maybe necessarily quite as permanent as something
Yeah,
like
which in some regards, in some fashion, can
isn't
be good.
necessarily a bad thing. It
Yeah.
still could at least maybe be a way to see, like, what do you have fun doing it or not before you would potentially decide to do a bunch more of it. But
Yeah, so my process here with these bases is very much just go back and forth around different areas, kind of paint over and repaint to try and change some of the transitions throughout. It's very much kind of an iterative process. And then, like, once I'm done with the two colors I'm working with now, I then also have some other lighter highlights and stuff that I'll go in as well with later. Um, as well as some other, like, enamels and oils, which I find both enamels and oils work. I find they work really well for doing, like, weathering and stuff like that. Like, you can pretty easily get some pretty nice transitions and other stuff if you just use the oils and some of the, like, odorless thinner. And then if, say, you're not too happy with how something turns out, you can often use the thinner to largely just remove all of what you've done anyway. So, like, you don't have to feel quite as worried when using them anyway.
Yeah, nah, it is kind of nice. Yeah, no, meandering shade. I think doing some like kind of more impromptu thing, just using a phone, makes a lot of sense. Just yeah, because it's you don't necessarily have to buy much of anything.
Yeah.
At least to see if you enjoy it or how challenging it is to, find the time or how challenging it is for you to sit and talk to yourself
Yeah.
while painting. Yeah, no, Mandarin should. I agree with that too. Um, Enamels and oil wash stuff. Yeah, you really don't like. You have a lot more freedom with their washes and such. You can. There's like so much more working time, and I think that's super nice.
Yeah, that can be really nice.
Oh yeah, and actually, it occurred to me. Last time I had said meandering shade that we might just start to call you Jonathan. So maybe we'll try to remember to just say
Yeah.
Jonathan. Oh, but I was wondering, yeah, so you can see the little Dark Angel's Funko Pop behind me now, so it's here. I'm just good with this stuff.
I think, yeah, like, streaming and stuff, I think you sort of just kind of have to. Some of it you just kind of have to get used to it. And I don't think I'm really used to it yet. But that's okay. I feel a lot of the streams, if I watch streams and stuff, I often just. They're sometimes a nice thing to have in the background as well, that you don't necessarily have to pay attention to everything.
Mm-hmm. And Jonathan, nice to hear that the Dark Angel Funko dude was shipped. It was funny that how a lot of places like you could have, if you would have just waited to purchase them, you could have gotten them earlier than like doing some of the pre-orders.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, stuff like that happens a lot.
I feel one of the things that I constantly struggle with when painting, maybe it's just has to do with like where I paint and everything, but dust. Dust always seems to be a big problem for me. That dust will get like caught in like your paints and whatnot, and then like it's hard to get rid of. I don't know if you've noticed that, Eric.
I have, or like it gets in like this, like literally on the model that you're painting, and then like it's hard to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I found the same thing often.
With washes too, to be honest.
That like when you're say applying them,
Yeah.
it can get caught in.
I feel particularly because oftentimes when I would be trying to apply washes, it would be to kind of like a larger surface that maybe even is part somewhat flat, and then like
Yeah.
just doesn't work that well because they get whereas so
Cat
like
hair. I don't have to worry about cat hair, thankfully.
yeah. But I feel the same thing probably for like dog hair, any sort of mammals would would be kind of could cause problems.
Yeah.
Sometime, Adam, we should have like a just a painting session where we are just in the same place and painting and we're trying to do a particular thing. So I feel at least it would be, for me anyway, be helpful to
Yeah. Discuss some of the stuff.
yeah.
Well, we could try and do some of that because in the coming month or so, we all have a fair amount that we need to do.
Yeah, we do. Need to finish writing this paper for work. But I wrote the first or a section for the thing finally. Finished it outline and all that stuff. So like,
That's good.
make
How
it.
thoughts of it? Are you happy with it or?
It's fine.
Yeah. How much of it are you like your PI? How much input and stuff are they having in it?
My thus far they haven't really had any.
Okay.
Um,
Are they planning to?
my guess is they will. I'm sure he'll actually read it and make legitimate changes or suggestions. Thus far, he gave me a suggestion of um, kind of a few additional papers and stuff that I should probably include. So I think it'll be fun. Although to be honest, there's some other reviews that in of the same topic that people have published that like are kind of an easy way to ensure I don't miss major stuff.
Okay.
So,
What is this a review about?
wound repair in mammals,
In mammals, okay.
and like how some mammals can regenerate hair follicles. Pretty cool. We can't though as humans. Pathetic.
Yeah, too bad for us.
Yep, too bad for us. Try to take a picture of the blend sort of thing I attempted to do here and see if we can.
We could put it up on screen, probably.
Yeah, you can. More I look at it, it's like so obvious, like the brush strokes and such.
Sometimes, depending, like, I don't know, a lot of that stuff, depending on how you take the pictures, like, you'd never even know. I feel like most of the pictures I tend to take are always pretty bold and in, like, the light, such that you can see everything. So I'm gonna put a picture up on the screen of the base I've been toiling at that you probably can't really see. um. Oh, Eric, you.
God, I can see everything.
You can see everything, Eric. I don't know. I sort of think that you could probably make that work just with. It sort of has like a worn look to it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just because I.
Putting the paint on too thick, too thin, too watered down. Like I don't really know.
Yeah. I sort of feel like, well, actually, Eric, you have my Arbites, right?
Yeah.
You should go and look at them. You should go and look at the blues of their pants and stuff, and I sort of think you could probably even see some of the same stuff
Uh huh.
with them.
And
But
I guess
it's
it's a
harder
pretty.
once you're painting really large surfaces as well. Alright, so there's the base. That looks okay. Now, it's probably not. Let me try and get it up on screen. Oh. Yeah. like doing a true scale Dark Angels thing would be cool. Have you seen have you seen some of our like earlier posts of some of like the Dark Angel like or the Deathwing Terminators and stuff that we've done? I feel I was really happy with how a lot of them turned out, but um I would rather sort of go back and redo all of the stuff and actually make them scaled properly because a lot of the older stuff we did certainly were not. I think a lot of the visual imagery and stuff we got was good, but since they were using some of the older Terminator models, they look a little.
Well,
Um,
Terminators look bad.
yeah, yeah, you said it, Eric. They just kind of look a little bad.
Look bad.
Your newer, like true scale Primaris Marines and stuff, they look a lot better. But and we use some of the same ideas with them, with like the skulls and the pins and stuff in them. But um,
It would be cool to do something with one of your those casts you made, Adam, eventually.
oh, for like a Dark Angel, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I need to cast more of those Marines. Was looking around to see if I had any that I had cast earlier. Deathwing torsos on Primaris Marines. Yeah, you could probably actually do it. I don't know if you've seen the little I made the one like Rainbow Warriors Chaplain a while ago for the one like charity army. In that I modified like a Space Marine body and then used like Primaris legs and stuff like that. So sort of similar to what you're suggesting here. So I think it's certainly doable.
Yeah, I feel you could do that.
I feel Dark Angels are often like they're an interesting chapter. Like I feel you can get a lot of like the cool Dark Angel imagery even without like having them having robes and stuff. Um, but like that's like another way
Prove
you
it,
could
Adam.
go. It's another way you could go, and you could like make sure all of your Marines have robes, which that is kind of more of that would be a lot more of a chore. And in some regards, I almost feel like a lot of the robes and stuff like that might be more like ceremonial armor and stuff, and they wouldn't really be wearing all those cumbersome robes in combat anyway. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Probably is. Because nobody wants to sculpt robes on all their Primaris. I won't do it for you, Eric. I'd like to do a little more with the Alpha Legion sometimes too.
Yeah, that would be neat.
I feel they sort of have a lot of the imagery and like kind of ideas and stuff that I sort of think would be cool and sort of fit with what I think Space Marines should look like, but often don't. Boy, it's a lot easier to paint stuff not underneath the camera. Who would have thought? Man, some people are really good at it. I guess part of it would depend on like what your setup and stuff is like too. I feel if you had a good setup, like it would probably be easier as well, but for a long time I wanted to make a Black Templar army. Then a friend started the army, and then I didn't feel the need that I didn't feel the need of making one. And then I guess I've made a few painted and converted a few models for said army, so I was able to make a few. I sort of feel I like a lot of the imagery of the Black Templar, but I don't know if I like the background quite as much. I feel like a lot of the background with them is often really like ham-fisted, like purge all heretics, da da da, like we hate all psychers, which I think can sometimes be a little much. Though I suppose a lot of that mentality is, in some regards, is very...
Sounds like you're talking about Warhammer.
Yeah, yeah. He's very, like, Warhammer 40,000-esque. Because I guess in some regards, like, most Space Marine chapters are kind of like that. They're not tolerant of anything. And why should they be? Stupid hairs. Dust, I hate it. Yeah, that's interesting. The notion of like kind of like King Arthur and some of those legends. They sort of do fit with some of the imagery and everything. Yeah, actually kind of cool to create kind of like a little kill team of just like different like Dark Angel like veterans, and they could all be kind of different, almost like a different knight. Oh yeah, I'm trying. Hey, nice to see you. I guess Captain Timboli. I'm trying to paint. Yeah, I don't. I'm working on the painting some of the their bases. Kind of fumbling through that with my shitty camera setup and everything, and bad lighting
It's the way to do it.
and camera placement.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, I have a lot of painting I have to do, and not necessarily a lot of time. But yeah, I'm trying to get back in the swing of painting. It's going okay.
Actually, I'll be right back.
There's a lot of stuff that it's interesting of how Games Workshop has done, like the Dark Angels imagery. Like, I feel that it's almost GW's version of Dark Angel imagery is almost just robes and plasma weapons. That's it. And like any of the other, all the other stuff is kind of just like whatever. And a lot of that other stuff I feel could be like kind of the more interesting stuff to look at, and they often really don't. The winged helmets too, you're right, they have that. That's about it. But like robes, plasma weapons, winged helmets, that's it. And then I feel like a lot of the imagery from some of the earlier Dark Angel rulebooks and everything, there was more of like the interesting imagery, but a lot of the more recent stuff is very much just let's draw pictures, let's paint / draw pictures of the models that currently exist. And I feel that kind of stunts a lot of like the creativity and stuff that like some of the artists could have brought to them, but instead they kind of just yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Okay, Eric.
Yeah.
When you think of GW Dark Angels, what do you think of, Eric? Do you think of, like, what are the main aspects that Games Workshop really plays up on Dark Angels currently?
Dumbass plasma weapons. The only thing that defines the Dark Angel is that they have lots of plasma weapons. So make sure they have tons of plasma.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I feel it's dumb. You know, was sort of distraught when that became like the Dark Angels thing. So rather than having anything neat, it was just all plasma all the time.
But I mean, that is neat, Eric. Or is it? Well, I guess they were trying to really make them. They wanted to make them different from some of the other like Space
Yeah.
Marine legions and stuff. And I mean, often a lot of them like they kind of come off as pretty same-ish.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why the new Forge World Dark Angels were a little bit better than I anticipated in the sense that they kind of had their own look to them that
yeah, it's true. It's certainly a little different from. Did they all have plasma weapons? The one dreadnought didn't. I
no, I think
know.
there were many Volkite things.
Yeah, so that's different. That's different. When I was making a character for my friend's Deathwatch RPG, I went with a Dark Angel with Heavy Bolter, and he asked, wouldn't that be plasma? Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, because back in the day, before plasma was their main thing, I often would more think of it as heavy bolters, lots of bolters and whatnot. But then it all changed, became stupider.
They really came into their own form, Eric, I think.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Glad you can look on the bright side of these things, Adam.
Always. Yeah, I mean, I feel even for the Dark Angels, like I still feel like a lot of the plasma weaponry would still be. It's not super common. Like you'd much more commonly see like heavy bolters and their other bolt weaponry because yeah, that is their like.
Mm-hmm.
I feel their primary weapons. That looks nice, Eric. Bring
I,
up.
I kind of tried to do more of a stifling dry brushing thing with some of the colors on top of it because I realized all the brush marks are there and it already to kind of go more texture to it. I think maybe it looks a little bit better, and I feel maybe I'll try to keep working with it, maybe with some of the darker ones and get slightly lighter, more controlled. Maybe it'll look better. I don't know. Because I did it on the other side too, and it still kind of looks bad up close in photos. But kind of just looking at it in person here, it doesn't look quite as miserable.
I mean, a lot of stuff like all the models that you're working on, they're all really small. Oftentimes, it's a lot easier to see the faults in the photographs.
Yeah, nah, thanks. Yeah, I think it does make it look more like a cloth-like thing. I could probably, if I might even, whenever I'm somewhat satisfied with it, I might put a thin layer of this Night Haunt Gloom technical paint or something over it to kind of unify it a little bit. That might just ruin it though. Who knows?
It's always a danger. It's just with washes in general, I feel. I'm
Yeah.
always very leery. Because it's like oftentimes I spent all this time like painting and repainting stuff to get things just right. And it's like, I'll put a light shade or like a wash over it. And it's like, well, I ruined it.
Happens.
Or that's been my experience. I'm taking a picture of the base that I'm working on too. Let's see what it looks like, all magnified. Looks okay so far. Yeah. when you use the washes as thin glazes, you just like really water them down with one of their like mediums or something, and then just apply um, light coats of it. Because yeah, if you just apply them thick and heavy like GW often wants you to, like it can really cause problems. We're actually to answer the question about the Mordheim event. We're actually going to the main event in Finland, so we're actually going to be going to that to play in the event. So we have to make all these good because it's quite the occasion.
I'll be just happy if I finish something.
I mean, yeah, that's true for me too. It's been a while since I've actually played anything like in an event.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's often easier just to send your models away. Actually, what time is it? Okay, so it's almost 1 o'clock.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh. Yeah, no, we'll hopefully have a lot of coverage of the event on the blog, and I'm sure we'll have a bunch of write-ups about everything. Um,
Yeah, no, I hope to do a bunch on it, like a bunch of actual coverage, kind of take a bunch of pictures to write about the various battles and such. So I feel often events like this, sometimes there isn't always that much actually covering this stuff. At the end of the day, I mean, it's a lot of work oftentimes, so like it's somewhat understandable, but like I feel if we can, I would like to be able to sort of share it because I feel a lot of people have kind of followed along excitedly for a while.
yeah, there's certainly has been a lot of build-up for it. And I mean, in some regards, like, there hasn't really been. It's interesting, just Mordheim in general. Like, there's been a lot more talk of Mordheim this past year or two than there has been for, like, probably the past, like, 15 years. So that's also neat. Just in general, like, I mean, certainly for us, like, I remember when Mordheim came out, but we weren't really in the position to buy all the models or anything, so we didn't really play it at all. I had always sort of wanted to.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I think is one of the neatest things about it is everyone kind of has their own idea and take on different aspects of it, and um, there are just a lot of neat ideas floating around.
Yeah, I think that too. Even for just in a general sense, like the Ink 28 stuff, I think is pretty neat too. That like it gives people a lot of opportunity to kind of explore various aspects of the 41st millennium that they think are neat, and they don't have to feel like, oh well, it might not fit much in this game or something.
Yeah, it doesn't so much matter if it does or doesn't.
Yeah, and I guess that is true. It's kind of neat that for Mordheim, since we can look at it like at 20 years later, because it's literally is 20 years later, and I think that in itself is kind of fun. And like just with the sort of thing it is, because it's so focused, the setting is so focused in a city that was being kind of corrupted and um, by Wardstone and all that stuff. It's neat that this just by the very nature of it being there, it can kind of explore more of that. But yeah, Kiri's the board, kind of the castle board he's building, like wow, it looks great. He's been going at it like crazy.
Yeah, he's certainly a man of many talents.
Yeah, yeah, he is.
His little Empire mercenaries, I feel, are like the quintessential. Like, that's sort of what I imagine when I think of like Empire mercenaries in Mordheim.
Yeah,
Yeah, people do want fantasy skirmish stuff. At least some people.
Yeah, I don't want to build giant armies. I just don't want to do it. I won't paint them.
I won't build them.
I won't build them. Yeah, and like so many of the models, like I would want them to be pretty heavily converted, or it's just not. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, it's hard.
I guess more than anything, it's not necessarily even as much of the time. It's just not much of a desire.
Yeah. Yeah, the skirmish stuff really, like that, has certainly kept my interest a lot more, and fielding small characterful war bands and stuff, like, and in many regards, like a lot of the individual struggles and stuff of the different characters and stuff, I feel that was sort of always what interested me the most anyway. In like a lot of like Dan Abnett's novels and stuff, even if they are focusing on some like huge war, they often deal on a much smaller personal level of like a few characters, and like it's much easier to relate to. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be able to like convert an entire army of models. It would be neat to, but I feel like oftentimes my there are so many other like projects and stuff always going on that like oftentimes my attention is diverted and taken elsewhere.
Yeah, I feel that is a difficult thing. That there's just so much other stuff that takes one's attention, and you want to keep doing different stuff. And like, I don't want to still be like spending an entire year just doing one thing.
And like in some regards I'd like to do more collaborative projects with people, like
Yeah,
um
yeah.
like build like a model or two and get other people to paint them or anything like that. I think that would be fun. If either of you want to paint a model that we build, tell us. We can probably arrange that eventually once we have time. Oh, the Nurglings, they're already so characterful as they like they come. Like you almost don't have to do that much with them. And even if you'd want to, like it would be hard to really notice. Can we get Greg in this chat, Eric? Can we can probably invite him, right? Um Actually, now how do I do that?
I think I can figure it out.
The Nurglings could have some neat hats. They could have a tower of hats, kind of like Team Fortress.
That's what I like. Tower hats.
The Great Unclean one has some really great ones. They almost look like little characters. Little sorcerers and other wandering knights of sorts, which are fun.
God, this dust, it's everywhere.
It is everywhere. You sending more pictures? Guys, yeah, like the dust is everywhere. God, I hate dust. I almost wish like they make. I almost wish I could do all my painting in like a clean room, like the ones they use for research.
Yeah, no, I mean that could be kind of nice.
A Nurgling warband would be fun. Yeah, Eric, I think I like the kind of the texture and stuff you have on the dark blue. Like I think you should try and get more of like a transition from like the like lighter color underneath it. Um,
But like, you mean so?
so it's like almost like it almost looks like it sort of blends from the dark to the lighter color.
Rather than just kind of light.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like yeah, some of like the different labs and stuff like the ventilation systems and stuff are certainly a lot better than like what I had. There's like nothing here in the apartment I'm in now, so it's not it's not ideal for like anything. I sort of do think the apartment that I'm in now is a little better than the one that I was in previously in San Diego. Um,
You know,
this,
having like a cell culture hood, like a laminar flow sort of thing, could help.
that would be great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel I will keep working at this test model and see how it goes.
Yeah, and once you sort of figure out how you want to do this stuff, it often is a lot easier. Everything thereafter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. You can probably. So I've been just trying to work with this wet palette here, but this the water that I've been using in the wet palette is this Invitrogen.
Oh.
Uh,
This.
Ultra pure.
Oh, hey, Greg.
Uh,
But that water is probably a lot nicer and a lot more distilled than the shit that I'm using. It's a good idea, actually.
if your water's not RNase free, why do you even use it?
Yeah.
Why even bother?
How are you, Greg? He's gone already.
Yeah, I must feel like it would have been better for the stippling effect if I did start doing it with a darker color and then slowly work up. Though, admittedly, I should have a better brush to do it.
Up here, you can just kind of work back and forth with some of that stuff.
Yeah,
At least a little.
that's what I'll try to do.
Oh my god, I am so bad at this.
A hydrophilic bandage, you say? Hmm.
That's an interesting idea.
Is it just so it probably just holds a bunch of water pretty well then?
Probably doesn't dry up very
Hmm.
quickly at all.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to use this red grass wet palette, and it seems pretty nice. Although, as I mentioned earlier on the stream, I've done like so little painting that I don't even know if it's good or how it helps. And then I've changed between different paints, and like so I can't really comment. But it's nicely made at least. And while it's sort of expensive, it does come with lots of replacement sheets and an additional sponge and things of that nature. So like it's not the worst thing. Although it is true that you could probably pretty easily just make your own with various things. That the one thing that the red grass thing, it has a nice little kind of rubber gasket seal, such that I think it will do a pretty good job of sealing tightly or relatively tightly, such that it won't dry up as quickly. Although, admittedly, I don't know if that's even something I care about a whole lot, but
Who knows?
yeah, who knows? How's it going, Greg?
it's going all right. So I had to check, like, I logged on to Twitch and then I had to get
the code
Oh,
for the
so no one would see
and
your identity.
yeah.
So
I
I
did
finally
that.
got my Twitch account back. It
Oh,
took
really?
almost a month for them to respond to me.
But they did it, and you got it back.
Yeah, I have it back now.
You must be so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've said this several times on stream before, but we'll say it again. If you're watching on Twitch, which most of you are now, if you don't have two-factor authentication on your account, you probably should. Because if you don't, it's only a matter of time before someone from like Thailand or something hacks into your account and changes the password.
Uh,
And then if as soon as that happens, um, Twitch will not respond to your emails for probably about a month. So it's just something to look forward to.
yeah, pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Or that's been my experience.
I think it happened to Greg too.
Well, I think Greg.
I set up the
Where someone tried.
authenticator thing. Like it's now been like 5 times or something that somebody tried to.
Uh,
You know.
that's something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
You using some of those enamels there, Adam?
Yeah, I'm actually using one of these um, MIG ammo of MIG. This is like a dark streaking grime enamel. And I'm sort of trying to, I'm applying a little bit of that in between the flagstones. And then almost my favorite of their enamels, they have some for like algae and green slime and stuff, and that like works really well and looks really, I think, pretty natural for getting like overgrown slime and stuff on like bases and other stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I've used some of it too. It's nice.
Yeah, people are always out trying to hack shit. It's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah,
I guess
too.
anything that's related to the internet is kind of rife with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, regardless, Twitch is not very responsive about any of that stuff. Maybe if like you were sponsored by them and you were a part, I guess I don't even know what they call them, like they were partnered with you, they'd probably care a little more than.
Yeah, if you're a Twitch affiliate,
Yeah, an affiliate, yeah.
I think. I mean, and then there's you can get higher than that. We need 50 followers to become that. Well, it's not just that. I think you need a bunch of stuff, like 50 followers, and then you need to have at least 4 streams a month with at least like 5, I don't know, 3 to 5 concurrent viewers or something. And that allows you to get subscribers and whatnot, which admittedly I don't really care
Yeah.
about that. But it's fine. It's fine. Greg, you happy you don't have to watch a Game of Thrones anymore?
It's nice it's over. But admittedly, it will mean we'll go. My friends and I will go to watch other probably bad television. So
That's good.
Yeah. Well, what should we watch? We have one more episode of Daredevil season 3, and we're done.
Have you watched Breaking Bad at all?
No.
I never did.
I started to watch some of it because a lot of people suggested it, and it seems like it's pretty good.
Nate, what my friend Nate, who's a chemistry teacher, wasn't thrilled with some of the chemistry in it.
Mm.
So I had heard that they had chemistry advisors and stuff, so they probably tried to do a reasonable job.
Well, I think for some of it, they didn't necessarily want to come out and tell you how to do
Oh,
a
yes,
lot of the stuff.
certainly that.
One thing that was interesting about it is like the main guy's a high school chemistry teacher, and he's very clearly talking about organic chemistry stuff and like
Stuff that you didn't teach in high school.
But some are starting to, like Nate, for example. His last few years teaching at some private Catholic school, he was teaching organic chemistry. Just to, like they offered that, but I think they only really offered it because they had him with his master's degree and good understanding of it. So they offered it because they had somebody that could do it.
Okay.
But I feel like it's something that some places are moving towards offering it. So it's not, it maybe isn't fully unreasonable.
That's not the type of school Walter White's teaching in.
But I don't, yeah, I am prepared to accept that. But doesn't he like go to drugs because he doesn't have money for health care or something?
Pretty much. It's like dying of cancer, can't afford it, or his insurance won't cover any of it and whatnot. But it's. I mean, I've watched like about 2 seasons of it,
So you watched.
or maybe a season and a half, off and on. I think it's been pretty good. To be honest, it sort of reminds me of the Eisenhorn trilogy in terms of 40K, in the sense that it's someone kind of slowly descending into
Something they weren't originally.
yeah. Although admittedly, it's kind of clear that Walter White always kind of had something there, and he had some propensity towards this.
Yeah. Nate also said it appeared to him like the show was largely just all drama all the time, and he's not one to want nothing but drama.
It is. I would say that is probably
And
true.
does that mean like so like oh at the end of each episode it's like oh my god this happened and
I mean, I didn't watch any of it, but I think like
It's
it's probably
okay.
well, but isn't that what like all Netflix is now?
all drama. You mean?
Yeah.
Well,
Or,
like
that's not entirely true, but
I guess if we were to compare to say like Daredevil, like there's some drama, but there's some fun action, and there's probably some humor, and it's not just like tension all the time and like oh my god, what's gonna happen here? This is a bad situation. I'm kind of nervous about this.
yeah.
Well, that was my feeling on it from when he
There's
mentioned it.
there's still some humor in it.
I figured there probably was.
But I guess my thought about Netflix and such, because older like television shows when they were actually on television, they were a little bit more serialized, and a few of the episodes would like really further a general storyline, but the other ones
Yeah.
were fairly episodic, and you'd have like these 24 episode seasons and stuff. Like now, it's all like just release it all on Netflix, binge it all, every episode so completely ties in with the previous one to further some plot that it like encourages you to just like watch it all in a sitting or two. Where,
Yeah.
you know, older shows like maybe the X Files or something, you could watch an episode and be fine. While it slowly would continue to develop the characters, it wasn't necessarily just completely plot driven the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is anyone on? If anyone's still listening to the stream, is anyone excited to read the Solar War, or I think that's what it's called, the first book in the end of the Horus Heresy series?
Instagram tells me a lot of people are excited.
I mean, I'm kind of excited about it. I'm not entirely sure when I will actually get to reading it, but
I'd like to read it, but I don't feel like I'll read it anytime soon.
yeah. No.
Oh, I want to read it.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what happens with it. Interestingly, Graham McNeil isn't writing anything from it.
Yeah, really?
No, yeah, I don't think so. I think just didn't really have the time. It's like, oh yeah, Jonathan, like I have not caught up with it, but it's fine. I don't care. I can't read 45 books or something. Or I mean, I could, but I won't.
I feel I've read maybe like 8 to 10 of them or something.
Me?
Actually, it's probably not that many. I've probably read like 5.
I read probably at least 10.
I read a lot. I, on the other hand, read none of the Horus Heresy books. Absolutely none. I read like the Eisenhorn books and one of the Ravener books, and so I've read some of the Warhammer 40,000 novels, but it's been a while since even reading any of them.
Encounter doesn't keep writing books.
I mean, he turned me away.
I mean, I guess he's still probably writing some. Not that many, though.
Yeah, I mean, I read the first Soul Drinkers book, and that was like, maybe these aren't good books. I mean, this first Soul Drinkers book wasn't particularly good, but that's not what ended up making me not read the books.
I think I've read 12 Horus Heresy novels, going back through and counting them.
It's pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a lot of book reading.
Oh, wait, no, but then there's... I guess there are 2 more. It's a 14.
It's pretty impressive.
Of the, 40, 50 some.
Oh, shit. You read some of the Age of Sigmar novels? That's incredible. Like, I don't know, anything about the background. Or at least very little. Very little.
Yeah, huh.
Deep dive, 7 novels in. Fuck yeah.
I couldn't even told you there were 7 novels.
Yeah, I would have been hard pressed.
Yeah, well. Good work, man.
Which was the best that you've read? And was it about Stormcast Eternals?
God, I hope so.
That would be best.
They're so relatable. Maybe they are. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, uh,
I would sort of think they're not though, because aren't they just constantly like reincarnated and shit?
yeah.
But I guess
Or
maybe that could create kind of interesting like they're all about Stormcast Eternal shit. So then you must know a lot about them.
Well, would you say that your feeling of the Age of Sigmar lore, would you say you like it more based on the perspective you've gathered from these novels? So, like, I haven't even read much of the lore in any of the books, like the army books, I mean.
Oh, I certainly haven't. Oh shit, that's like something else. If you kind of like them now after reading some of the stuff, that's pretty impressive.
did the planes in D&D Planescape? Remember the Planescape setting?
I do.
I do and don't. I do and don't. I remember the logo. And I remember some of the planes as they were introduced to me from Planescape Torment.
Yeah, that's the only reason I know anything about it. Planescape Torment.
So maybe I'll actually have to look into some of the Age of Sigmar novels then. Have they all been just kind of following a series? Like, are they in it like a particular series of books, or are they all kind of standalone things that all deal with Stormcast because they're awesome?
They are awesome.
Which the base you've been working on? Which model's that for, Adam?
The armored sister with the double-handed hammer, I guess.
Okay.
I've done. I've done work for. Been working on a bunch of them. Slowly. Boy, that's a terrible thing.
Did any of you
Are 32 millimeter bases, right?
Yeah.
hear how some college in Atlanta, Georgia, some billionaire gave
Yeah.
the commencement speech
Yeah.
and announced that he was going to pay off all the graduating classes' student loans?
Yeah, I did hear that. That's something.
Whoa.
It's like 400 graduating students or something.
Wow.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really something. An estimated $40 million.
Oh my god.
That's something.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Michael Bloomberg, he not too long ago gave Johns Hopkins all but $2 billion to basically pay for all incoming students like that had sort of financial troubles and whatnot for like all of Johns Hopkins' existence.
Damn.
And they was so much money was donated, or that sum of money was donated with the thought that it would be able to just generate interest and indefinitely be able
Wow.
to pay.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, I'll be.
Alright, everybody. I think I'm about done for now. And I guess it's already 1:30 for us, so that's kind of late.
Yeah, it's true.
Thanks everyone for coming out and watching this initial stream, and putting up with kind of the probably terrible recording.
Oh wait, well, one thing just to say, because a million seconds is 12 days, and a billion seconds is 31 years.
Okay, so that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's a good way of thinking about the amount of money that he gave.
So almost $2 billion. Oh yeah, from 12 days to 21 years. So yeah, it is.
Yeah, again, thanks everyone for coming out and listening to us ramble about hobby related stuff. Hopefully, you got at least something out of it, even if it was just something to listen to while you were doing other stuff.
Mhm.
We'll continue to try and do other streams and stuff like this. We should have a stream tomorrow, more like our typical ones, where we just kind of ramble on about different stuff. So
I don't even know what we're going to talk about.
we'll figure it out. Um, and then I guess, yeah, and we'll continue to try and improve our setup and everything, so it's a little easier for everybody to view. Um, but yeah, thanks again for hanging around with us. It's always good to interact and chat with other people in the community. I feel the community aspect is probably my favorite part about the hobby in general. So
And I guess if any of you have any suggestions, let us know either through Instagram Messenger, through this YouTube, whatever.
or
We're
just email the blog as well. That
Yeah.
would be fine too.
Yeah, all right. See everybody.
Yep, thanks everybody. Keep on enjoying the hobby. Over and out.
Over and out.